A year later. Some of you are new. I'm glad you're sitting down because we are going to have 2 hours of just fabulousness because we're talking about alcohol. I should say that my name is Kristen Owens. Thank you for that lovely introduction, and thank you to Charlotte County Libraries for having me again. This is great, and the Friends, of course, for bringing me in. I am a certified Cicerone. That sounds fancy. I'm also a certified member of the Guild of Wine Sommeliers. That sounds even fancier. What does that mean? That means I can talk about beer and wine coherently. Who knew? So yes, it is great. We're going to talk, I'm also a writer. I write about beer and wine. I've been written in, my pieces have been in Wine Enthusiast, 5280, Writer's Digest, all kinds of really great periodicals on wine and beer. I love to talk about it because I think it's something we don't get to appreciate because some of us are intimidated. We're not going to be intimidated today. We're going to try some new things. We're actually going to be trying some beer. How many people have never had beer before? Oh, good. Excellent. So this is what we're going to do today. I'm speaking very loudly so everybody can hear me. Can everybody hear me? Excellent. If you can't, there's lovely seats up front. Well, I will spit on you. Okay? So I will spend the first half of our session today talking about beer, how beer is global, the countries that are the most influential on beer production, and also traditions, glassware, you name it. We're going to talk about everything related to beer. And then after that, we're going to have an actual tasting of 3 different beers. I'm not going to tell you what until we get there. There will be no quiz. Just have fun. Okay? Are you ready? Ready. Excellent. I have to say, I see more gentlemen in the audience today. And I'm not quite sure why, but ladies, yeah. Let's get on that. Okay, so the history of beer. We have had an extremely long history with beer. We see evidence in Egypt in 3500 BCE, a long time ago. Okay, there they are making beer. Wow, but it didn't start there. It started with the Sumerians, and they didn't learn it there. They learned it from China. 7,000 years ago. Wow, we've had beer for a long time. Now, we've seen evidence of this in the fields that they grew, the ingredients that they used, some of the casks that they used to ferment. So here they are mashing, here they are boiling, here they are mashing too, boiling. Here are these lovely pots that they're putting the beer into. So this is pretty cool. They're showing us what they did through their art. Thank goodness. So why was beer important? Well, for a number of reasons. It was healthy. You didn't die from drinking beer back then. Okay. So beer had to be boiled. So any impurities in the water were filtered out. They were gone. It also provided carbs, which were calories to people. They didn't have a lot of calories back then. So the more calories, the better. So they found out by drinking beer, it made them healthier. So they drank more, and they produced more. So it is boiled water and calories. It is essential to their diet. They considered it food, not drink. They had temples built in their breweries because they thought it was a gift from God, this lovely, lovely thing we have. And in Egypt, the goddess of beer was Tenant. And in Sumeria, it was Ninkasi. So the women made the beer back then, and the women were revered as goddesses in their own cultures for making this beer. So ladies, just saying, we've got a special affinity for beer. And if anybody has an old grandma from Italy or the Czech Republic or Poland, they probably made beer in a big ceramic pot. and they probably stuck it out in the barn to ferment. Do you remember that? Did anybody have an old grandma, old Oma who did that? Just mine? Okay, we're going to talk about farmhouse beer in a minute. So beer is very important. So so as civilization advanced, okay, more people, they realized that in order to have more beer, we need more farmland. We need to grow all these ingredients to make beer. So they started more farming, which meant there was more trade involved with neighboring countries, counties, cities, towns, which meant engineering, which meant commerce. So beer production really started some of the commercial aspects of trade thousands of years ago. It's fascinating what beer has done for our world. So the ingredients of beer, let's talk about them. What do you actually put in beer? There's only 4 things. That's it. It's very simple. Grains, hops, water, and yeast. That's it. That's it. It's not that fancy. However, grains. We have to dry the grains first. When we dry the grains, like barley, rye, or wheat, they produce a malt. And you can see here the different shades of the malt. One of them is lightly toasted. The other one's darkly roasted. And when you smell them, you can imagine that they probably smell a little different, depending on their roasted, okay, how long they've been roasted. And they pick up different flavors where these are grown. So grains grown in the UK are much different than grains grown in Wisconsin. They're just different strains. The sun's different, the elevation's different, the soil is different, very different. So the grains are different, the malts are different. However, they are grown to produce beer, these specific malts. They provide proteins, minerals, and most importantly, sugar. Sugar is important to make alcohol. You need sugar to make alcohol, just like wine. You need it to get that alcoholic process. There are also some things called unmalted grains that are used in beer production, corn or rice. That sounds strange. We've been doing it for years. Japan uses it a lot. Millet, sorghum, very popular in Africa because they don't have the wherewithal to make some of these grains, to produce some of these grains, so they've made other options. Corn is used in the United States. It's mostly used for our less expensive beers. Can anybody name a less expensive beer in the United States? Oh, come on. Schlitz. Pabst Blue Ribbon, Budweiser, Busch, Coors. They're all fine beers. I'm not judging. I'm just saying they're made with corn. We have a big corn production in the United States. It makes sense, and it's cheaper. Let's do that. So, those beers taste very different than the beers you're going to drink today. These are called adjunct beers, by the way, that are not made with malt. The other thing we have are hops. Hops are grown like this. See how it's a cone? They're about this big. They're all different. There's hundreds of different kinds of hops. They can grow up to 30 feet tall. I've seen them in Colorado. It's incredible. You're like, what are those? And you can smell them, and they're not even dried yet. And that's a hop farm. It smells bitter. It smells hoppy. These are hop pellets that are made for craft beer production. So if your husband or your wife makes beer, they will be using pellets instead. They've been reduced to a very, very small form. Now, why do we use hops? Well, hops gives beer aroma, the nose. When you open that can and you smell something, it's probably hops. It gives it flavor. It gives it bitterness, which is not a bad thing. Turbidity, haziness. It's a natural preservative. I'll say that again. Hops are a natural preservative. Put that in your bonnet for a minute, okay? We'll get back to that in a second. So noble hops are from Germany and the Czech Republic. They are relatively low in bitterness and high on aroma, but unfortunately the American hops, we like big citrus and piney notes, and ours are very different, and we like IPAs. IPAs are very hoppy beers. IPA is, anybody know? What's an IPA?
India Pale Ale.
India Pale Ale, exactly. India Pale Ale is an IPA. We're lazy. We don't like to say the whole word. We just say IPA. Okay. All right. There are 80 different kinds of hops presently used in beer. And in beer production, we are always continually making up new strains, new flavor profiles. They grow on the vine, and we pick them and dry them, and we make beer from them. Water is very important to beer production. Water is 90% of the weight of beer, of the weight. Now, let's take a look at these two photos. Look at the first one. Isn't that pretty? Oh, my goodness. Look at it. It's like a mountain with blue skies and a rushing river, and it's so clear you could see like the rocks underneath the river. That's pretty. Anybody know where this is? Oh, I got a good class today. I just moved from Colorado. Well, I said just. It's been 3 years already. But my husband and I were in Colorado for about 9 years. And that's where we learned a lot about beer and wine specifically. Now, let's look at this other picture. Oh, there's trees like growing in the water. I think there's like an anaconda over here. There's probably a gator just waiting for a snack over here. Where is this? It's This is Florida. Look at the water compared to Colorado. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Okay, well, Florida does not have great water. So you have to do things to the water to make it better in order to make beer. You can't just make beer with what we have. So the brewers need to adjust for the water chemistry. Soft, low mineral water, real soft, is great for lagers. High mineral water, they need adjuncts like hops to balance it out. Okay, so we have high mineral water in Florida. We need to add a lot of hops to that water. So what is Florida's favorite beer? IPAs. IPAs are the hoppiest beer out there. It's because Florida is focused to do that. We are built to make IPAs, just like the UK, where they came from. Okay? We have the water to make great IPAs, so we do it. In Colorado, there are close to 500 craft breweries. I've been to most of them.
That's impressive.
Thank you very much. And there are always more. We really, for some reason, that area of the world loves to support craft breweries because we have such fabulous ingredients. We have great water. We have great barley. We have great malting production there. People come all over the world to get the malts from Colorado because they're so good. Okay? Florida, how many do you think Florida has? How many craft breweries in Florida? 250? 200. All right. Okay, 200. We're getting there. They're mostly IPAs. All right, you know, duking it out with each other at competitions. Mine's the better IPA. No, mine's the better IPA. That's where my husband is right now. My husband's a professional beer judge. Yes, our lives just stink. Our lives stink. He is awesome. Thank you for knowing that. He is awesome. And he would be here today, and he's so mad because he can't be here, but he is in Tampa judging a statewide competition. And he's drinking a lot of IPAs. Okay? Okay, the last thing we need, very important, is yeast. Ladies and gentlemen who bake probably recognize yeast. It's very simple. Yeast feeds on the sugars, which turns into alcohol and carbon dioxide. Voila, fermentation, alcohol, okay? Ale yeast produces esters They give fruity flavors to the beer. Aromas like clove, nutmeg, white pepper, lots of variety. Lager yeast produces a small amount of these things, and it usually focuses on more of the hop and malt characteristics. So that is yeast. How do you make beer? Simple. Water, hops, grain, put it in a big old tank, adjust the heat depending on what you're going to do, and you get beer. Now, I made it sound very simple. It is actually very simple to make beer. The hardest thing about making beer is sanitization. You have one spoon that's dirty, everything's gone. You throw it all away. It's heartbreaking, and you know it as soon as you taste it that it's skunked or it's been compromised in some way. It smells like a dirty dog. It does. That's the official aroma, dirty dog. Wet dog, dirty dog. Okay? So if you're making, and that's why craft brewers are it's a lot of money. You know, you're buying all these great products, you're putting them together, you're stirring, you're mashing, you're heating, you're doing all this, you're taking the temperature, da, da, da. Now it's doing its thing, and you're cooling it, and you're putting it in a very dark space with a blanket on it. You're watching the bubbler go up and down. Is it bubbling? Oh yeah, we have alcohol. That's great. Carbon dioxide. Yay, alcohol. Woohoo! And then you open it up 2 months later. Something was dirty. It is so important to clean your materials, your bucket, your sponge, everything, your hands. You usually have a bucket of bleach that you're using your hands into, and then rinsing them and back and forth, and then oxidation and all of that. There's so many cleaning products that are involved with beer making. That's why you see when you're going to a brewery, in the back, they're wearing boots, there's lots of open vats, there's lots of water, there's lots of cleaning materials, because it has to be clean, or the beer is no longer. So, okay, lagers versus ales. Ooh, how pretty. Generally, Americans tend to drink lagers. Why? I don't know. Bud Light, Michelob, all those things fall into the lager category, and the color's usually around here. It's kind of wimpy when it comes to beer, right? That's wimpy. Lagers are down here. They're easy drinking. They're usually lower calorie. They're refreshing. You could drink a few and be fine. I think that's why we tend to drink them. I'm just guessing. But lagers are Bud Light, Michelob, Coors, all of those. And the main difference between the ales and the lagers is the type of yeast that is used to make them and the temperature in which they're fermented. So top fermented are ales. You put the fermentation at the top, you let it drizzle down throughout the beer to the end. Lagers are bottom fermented. You have to have temperature control. If you don't have temperature control, you cannot make a lager. So it has to be cold at some point. You have to bring that temperature down on the beer very quickly within a certain amount of time, or it's not going to be beer. It's going to be soup. So that's the main difference between lagers and ales, the type of yeast that is used and how it is fermented. Okay. Whew. Beer is worldwide. It's everywhere. Every country has beer. Well, every country has beer. But there are just too many countries to talk about today. So we're going to focus on 5. The 5 that I think are the most important to beer in the world. Does anybody know which one we're going to start with? 9. No.
Austria?
No. We're going to France.
Oh my goodness. That's a shocker.
Voila! France. You didn't know we were going to France, did you? I'll tell you why. They make wine, right? Of course they do. But they are just as important to the history of beer as they are to the history of wine. They have iconic styles. Their terroir, right? It looks like terror, but it's their terroir, means that it's a sense of place. The sense of place means where that grape or that wheat is growing. What's the sun like? What's the earth like? What's the chemical composition of the ground, of the rainfall? Is it on an angle of a mountain? Is it at the top of a mountain? Is it in a riverbed? Where is it? It's a sense of place. And beer has a sense of place as well. So let's talk about France. The history is fascinating. We found evidence of beer in the late Bronze Age, which is 1700 to 1200 BCE. The early Middle Ages, about 500 AD, the monasteries were in charge of all the beer. Now, everybody knows what a monastery is, right? It's a little place where monks live and drink. They're very good at beer. They see it as a gift from God. God has given them this opportunity to make fabulous beer, so they do it. There is nothing wrong with alcohol. There is nothing wrong with alcohol, okay? There is something wrong if you drink too much alcohol, okay? So in Europe, the culture is very different. You can have a glass of wine for lunch. You can have a bottle of wine for dinner with your family. It is perfectly acceptable. But for some reason in our Western culture, it's verboten. Okay? We don't know how to manage it as well as the rest of the world. We're working on it. So interestingly enough, in 1948, Paris enacted some brewing laws. They said, okay, we need to get all this organized. You're going to have to pay a fee, and you're going to need to be a member, and you're going to need to have dues and all of this. And people said, what? We don't want to do that, and we have to pay a membership fee to make beer, and that doesn't make sense. So here's where it gets really interesting. War. Wars do terrible things to people. It also does terrible things to beer, because wars forced many of these breweries from France to Belgium and the Netherlands. They couldn't grow crops anymore because it was war. They couldn't grow the wheat. They couldn't grow the rye. They had to move somewhere else to do their beer production. So, unfortunately, in the French Revolution, there were only 9 breweries left. And they were Trappists, they were the monks, because the monks had their own land. They weren't going to take the monks' land. So the monks survived, all right? But at the end of World War II, 1910, we had 3,000. Everything came back. It all shifted back. But then World War II, less than 500. Do you see the shift? War, no war. War, we're going somewhere else to make beer. War's over, we're coming back. Shift and shift. 1975, 23 total breweries in the country of France. That's incredible. That's incredible.
You're saying 75 was when the government said we're going to start monitoring it?
No, that was way, way, way long ago. Okay. But in the 1980s, the government did get involved and said, hey, wait a minute. This is really an important part of our heritage, beer making, as is winemaking. So we're going to start to try and incentivize you to make beer again. Let's make beer. And by 2022, 2,500 breweries, mostly craft. Craft breweries are small, independently owned. They're not owned by a company. They usually have less than 6 million barrels a year, which is very small. It doesn't seem very small, but it is very small. And they're doing just fine. So we have France to thank for getting beer in and out when it needed to. And this is a great example of how beer travels. So, the signature beer styles of France, you've probably never had any of these. You should. Traditional bière de garde, it means beer for keeping. Okay? You want to keep it for a little bit. It's not quite ready. It is a northern French farmhouse. We're going back to farmhouse ale. It is earthy. It is musty. It is raw. It is medium-bodied. It's got chicken feathers in it. I swear to God, it does. Okay, so if you ever go to... So farmhouse ale is very famous in Belgium. We're going to do that next. But farmhouse ale means, hey, we're on a farm. We've got some wheat. We've got some yeast. We've got water. Let's just throw it all together and put it in this vat. Open vat. It's open. Chicken poop, feathers, mice. Who knows? Flies. It just hangs out there for a while. And then you decide it's done, and you filter it all out, and voila, you have beer. And ooh, it's got some punch to it. It's very hearty beer. That's how people made beer. That's called farmhouse ale. It is revered. Not my favorite. Some people like it. It's okay. It's fine. It's not going to hurt you. Okay? So that is traditional bière de garde. Bière de Mars is traditionally brewed by farmers. Did this again. They did it in the early spring, and they consumed it very quickly because they wanted to drink it. And Bière de Noël is basically to make space for their harvest. The farmers just took everything that was left over on the farm, threw it together, and they made a holiday beer. Ooh, holiday beer. It's basically a potpourri of everything that was left on the farm. We'll just put it together. Okay? And they just put a fancy name on it, and it was usually higher alcohol. So really nobody cared. Okay? So those are the signature beer styles. Now, what do these beers look like? Well, they look like regular beers. So 1664 is called Kronenbourg. You might have seen this in the grocery store. It is the #1 beer in France to this day. It is mass-produced in the Alsace-Lorraine region. It's very good. It's a nice, crisp, very easy drinking beer. Brut Blanche is unpasteurized. So when you look at it, it's got all kinds of things going on. It's not very it's very cloudy. It's not very clear. It's like, ooh, there's a party in that bottle, and I can't really see through it, but it's fine. Okay? It's double fermented, so it's like, yes, it's got a lot of hops, a lot of citrus notes. It's like, wow, this is something. Be great with cheese, great with Gouda, or any kind of like really creamy cheese it would be fantastic with. Three Monts is from the French Flanders region. It is fruity, it is yeasty, and this is a bière de garde example where you do it for holding. It is a farmhouse ale, okay? So these are three of the best known beers in France today. If you want to try one, 1664 is definitely available at Total Wine. You can get that. Brit I have not seen Three Monts, so that might be a problem. All right, now we're going to Belgium. I am so happy about this place because Belgium holds a special place in my heart for having too much beer drank in one sitting at one time. Honestly, the best Oktoberfest I ever went to, now I lived in Germany for 4 years. The best Oktoberfest I ever went to was in Belgium. Figure that out. On a NATO air base. Figure that out. It was fantastic. So the three signature beer styles from Belgium is, of course, an Abbey Ale, a Lambic, and a Saison. You might as well French it up a bit. It is French. Saison, not season, Saison. So an Abbey Ale is rich, it's malty, it's strong. It comes in a double, a triple, or a quadruple. Now you think of that in terms of size. It is not. It's about intensity and alcohol. So beware, friends. If you see quad on the bottle, strap yourself in and grab a ham sandwich because you are going to need that extra carb in there. Besides, it's got to float around in something. So they're wonderful. A double is a nice way to start. Training wheels, a double. A triple, you're moving up. And the quad is definitely graduate level Belgian beer drinking. So I would, if you want to play with this, have a beer tasting with your friends. Invite your neighbors over. Everybody brings 2 different beers. And you all try it. This way you're not investing in a whole case of beer that you might not like. You can get singles at Total Wine. You can get a singles from 6-packs. I didn't know you could do that. You could just grab it out of a 6-pack. And take a Belgian, take a German, take a French, and just try it. If you don't like it, big deal. So a Lambic is like a sour. How many people have had a sour beer? Like on purpose? Okay. It's supposed to be sour. Yeah, some people hate it. Some people love it. It can be very refreshing, especially in Florida in summer. It's like a wine, sour, tart. It's fermented with microbes from Brussels. It's slightly carbonated. It's like a gose, G-O-S-E. It's considered a gose, or a fruit lambic, like is a kriek. A kriek, they have raspberry and strawberry fruit puree infused into the beer, and it's very, very nice. I actually have to have mine very cold in order to drink it. Cherry, flamboise, raspberry, fruit, very nice. So a saison, again, we're back to the farmhouse. It was originally done in Wallonia. It's light, high carbonated, low alcohol, basically drank by villagers because it's local, farmers, and seasonal saisonniers. A saisonnier is a farmhand, hence the name saison, okay? So those are the three most popular. Okay, let's talk about geography playing a very large role in Belgium's beer. It's perfect for growing barley, but it's too cold for grapes. I have not had one bottle of wine in Belgium that was made in Belgium. They don't make wine. They can't. It's very, very hard. It's just too cold. So the Romans brought all these wine-making techniques. The Germans brought in the brewing and the ingredients. And what we really need to talk about is 1098, France. Again. The French just keep coming. A group of monks wanted to have more strict following of St. Benedict. So the hard work, the poverty, the supporting themselves, they grew their own crops, they brewed their ale. But in 1664, they changed their name to Trappists, hence the 664 beer name. It pays homage to that. They changed their name to Trappists. In 1780, the French Revolution came, and they were forced from northern France into Belgium. It's all from France, going back to France again. These Trappist monks moved out of France into Belgium, where they were able to make their beer. Today, there are only 6 Trappist monasteries that produce and sell beer. None are open to the public. Except if you happen to know certain people. Short story. How are we doing? Well, we're fine. Okay, short story. When we were in Colorado, I was doing lots of writing for beer magazines and the local beer culture, and my husband was brewing, and we were really getting to know all the brewers. And Colorado feels like a small town. We don't have a lot of people, not like in Florida where there's billions of people. We might have like 1 million. Okay, so you get to know people after a while. And one of the people we got to meet was this really great man, and his name is Peter Bouckaert. And Peter Bouckaert was one of the founding brewmasters for New Belgium Brewery. Have you ever heard of Fat Tire Beer? New Belgium Brewery. Guess who made that beer? Peter Bouckaert. He was from Belgium. They brought him over and said, we need you to make beer for us. So he made all this fabulous beer. He made so much beer, he said, I'm going to retire now, and I'm going to open up my own little small nothing brewery in this crappy little, can I say crappy? Okay, crappy little, strip mall in Fort Collins, where nobody's ever going to find me, but I'm going to make beer that I want to make, that's not mass-produced, that's one-off, that's in little barrels that we keep heated with sweaters on, and you can come whenever you want. He is a master beer maker. There are very few in the world that can consider themselves master beer makers. There is a line out his door. It only seats like 15 people. And you never know what you're going to get, and you don't care. Because it's fabulous. When it's gone, it's gone. And he'll make something different. So you can't say, oh, I want that 6-pack of whatever. There's no 6-pack. There's no bottles. There's no cans. You just have an empty glass, and you say, just pour me whatever you got there, Peter. And him and his wife are lovely, and I've interviewed them several times for some magazines. And guess where they're going this year? They're going to Belgium, and they're taking 12 people with them. Luckily, my husband got into. So the 2 of us are going.
Disciples.
Yeah, so we are going to be I can't even talk about it. Look, I can't even talk about it. It's like the trip of a lifetime. We are going to the Trappist breweries. Yeah, which is going to be incredible. They are not open to the public, but they're open to Peter. That's how important he is to Belgian beer in the world. So I hate to brag, but come on, right? I mean, if you were going, you'd tell people too. This is incredible. So basically, they're Trappist. Nobody can use the word Trappist. Nobody but these 6 people, these 6 breweries. If you want to make a Trappist-like ale, you have to call it an Abbey ale. So when you see Abbey ale, that is in the spirit of a Trappist ale. This is the logo that you will find if it's a Trappist product. Here are the Trappists. Achel, Chimay, you can get Chimay all over the place. They will make it and distribute it. You just can't come see them. They're busy brewing and praying. La Trappe, Orval, Rochefort, and Westmalle. You can get these here. You can get these here. These are Trappist beers. They will probably be, and I'm being very honest here, we're in Florida, folks, they will probably be very dusty on the shelf because nobody's drinking them here. Horror of horrors. These are the best beers in the world. And we're not drinking them because we don't know anything about them. And congratulations for coming today, because now you know, and you can go, and you can just say to the people, show me your Trappist beers, and they will show you 6. Okay? You're going, Kristen, there's 7 bottles up there. What's up with the 7th? The 7th one is from the Netherlands. Again, the Trappists moved again, and they went to the Netherlands, so there is one from the Netherlands. But there are 6 in Belgium, 7 total in the world. Where are my Trappist beers? They're probably a little more expensive, like maybe $3 a bottle, but it is worth it. It is so worth it. Just buy one, just try it, tell me what you think. It is lovely. Okay, so that's my Trappist spiel. All right, so in terms of what to serve this beer in, because it is awfully, awfully special, the Belgians love their beer so much, they have all these different glasses for them. And that's the thing in Europe. They love their beer so much, they're so specialized as to what the glass should do for the beer. Should it hold its head? Should it be warm? Should your hand rest underneath it to warm up the beer? Should your hand not do that, so there's a foot to put your hand on the foot to keep it nice and cold? Is the beer glass nice and tall so there is no foam? There's reasons for all this. It's just not that they're pretty. There's reasons for why these glasses are the way they are, which I find fascinating. Now, the one I would pick, these are all Belgian glasses, would be this one. This one's called the Tulip. It looks like a tulip, okay? It's got a nice foot. It's got a nice stem, just enough to put your hand on. You don't want them too cold or too warm. But the beautiful part is up here. It goes like this. What's that for? Yeah, something else, though, really important. No. Optimum mouth feel. Your lip sticks right underneath that rim. God forbid you spill a drop.
That's funny.
I'm being serious. Hold your lip. There's a space right here. That's where that tulip goes. Uh-huh. 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 They've been doing this for a couple of thousands of years. Okay, they know what they're doing. Okay, moving on. Okay, United Kingdom. They're small, but they're mighty. They have lots of different beer styles. The barley wine, it is not wine. It's high alcohol. It might be 9%, which is a low wine. Wines usually clocks in around 14%. This is a 9%. Again, be careful. It tastes really good. Boop, 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 boop. I can't see, okay? Barley wine is very high. And they did this because, yes, marketing. During a war, of course, they couldn't get wine from France, so they said, well, we'll make our own wine, but we don't have grapes, so we'll just make beer and call it wine. English bitter. It is not very bitter by today's standards. It's cask conditioned. We'll talk about that in a minute. It's classified by strength, ordinary, best, extra special bitter, or ESB. If you see ESB, that is an English bitter. IPA we're going to talk about in a minute. And what else? Porter, wee heavy. Porters are dark brown ales. London laborers love the dark brown ales. It was the first mass-produced beer in the world in London. You found it right here. Wee heavy means small but strong. Wee heavy. Served in smaller pours because it is around 7 to 10% alcohol. It is slightly smoky. Very unique taste. An Irish stout is jet black. You cannot see through this beer. You taste coffee, a little chocolate. Light and crisp. Believe it or not, chocolate Irish stouts are light and crisp. They're not thick like soup. They're very different than what you think they are. Okay, we're going to talk about cask ale. It's really important that we understand what this is because it's so historical. So traditional styles of beer in the UK were conditioned in a cask, a barrel. They basically put the beer in a barrel and said, now you do your thing, you go ahead and ferment, we'll get you out when you're ready, okay? And they said, okay, so in the cellar, it was more of a consistent temperature down there. They kept these casks. When they were ready to serve it, they would have to drill lines into the bar, down below the cellar, filter it up, have something that you would pump. It's quite interesting watching this. See, they still do it. This is a pump. It's pumping the beer up from the basement. That's why women have very strong biceps in the UK who are beer maids, okay? They are pumping them up, and then it comes out here, and it's very foamy. And here are some London Pride, ESB, Oliver's Island. Those are cask ales. But no forced carbonation. You're not shoving carbonation in it like a steel tank would. Okay? They carbonate as a byproduct of their fermentation. So basically, long story short, the government got involved and they said, well, we're only going to tell the beer owners how many pubs you can own, and all the rest of you have to find a new job somewhere. And they said, wait a minute, we have to do what? And so in the 70s, they came back and said, we've got something called a CAMRA, Campaign for Real Ale. When you go to the UK, you will see CAMRA signs still, because it brought back cask ale to where it should be. And it's really important because it is a staple in British pubs. I was just there 2 weeks ago. I had cask ale. Mama was happy. I'm going to tell you right now, it is warm. It is flat. What?
It's got the flavor.
It's got the flavor. Oh my God. Now it's not like hot. It's just room temperature. But it's not coming out of a refrigerator. It's coming from down below. Pump, 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 psh, oxygen, foam, drink, happy. Okay? And they come in all different colors and flavors, and it's delicious. So I love cask ale. Okay. Oh, we got so much to do. Let's talk about IPAs. Everybody's heard of an IPA. It stands for India Pale Ale. They're ales with added hops to reduce spoilage when you sail around from London to India. Back in the 1800s, UK used to sail to India. And they didn't want any of their stuff to spoil. They didn't want their beer to spoil. So they found out if we pump it full of hops, it'll be just fine by the time we get there. 4 to 6 months it takes to get to India. So in 1800, the Old Bow Brewery can be credited for the first IPA. But they didn't name it. Shame on them. So they decided, the captains wanted to sell it themselves, and the company said, no, you can't. And so somebody else said, I'm coming in and taking it all away. And Samuel Alsop from Burton-on-Trent. They are lucky they did because the water was better in that location in the UK. The water was better. It was hoppier beer, higher quantities of calcium and magnesium. It was the perfect place to have IPAs. And we see historical documents from the 1800s from the United States and also Australia talking about how great IPAs are because they're different. United States revived this in the 1970s. They said, let's try this out in places that don't have great water, like Florida and other places. And it is now the United States' #1 style of beer, IPAs. There's all different IPAs. Here are the 3 beers that you should know from the UK. London Pride, rich on the palate, clean finished, well balanced. It is an ale. The Belhaven Wee Heavy. It is the oldest brewery in Scotland from 1719. It's still in existence. It's caramel, earthy, very low bitterness. Old Speckled Hen, one of my favorites. It's considered an old ale because it ages. It's got some fruit, intense malts, and it was established in 1711. Still making it. Okay, now we get to Germany. Finally. Beer styles, Berliner Weisse, Dunkel, Helles, Kolsch, Märzen, Weissbier. A Berliner Weisse is a white beer from Berlin. That's its name, Berliner Weisse, white from Berlin. It must be made in Berlin. You can't have a Berliner Weisse in Tampa. It's 30% wheat, a little sour, but sometimes it's sweetened with raspberries or some type of fruit syrup. A Dunkel is malty, bready, deep brown, full-bodied lager. Helles means pale, low bitterness, 5% IBV. Kolsch, one of my favorite German drinks. It's from Cologne, which is Köln. Kolsch is from Köln, from Cologne. And it is very subtle. It's got a little floral on it, a little fruit, bright gold, pale. It tastes like a Pilsner. And a Märzen. Märzen is copper. It is marketed as an Oktoberfest beer or a fest beer. That is what a Märzen is. And a Weissbier is basically wheat, a Hefeweizen, clove, banana, unfiltered. There's stuff in it, and it is delicious. So, a word about the Germans. In much of its history, Germans have produced the best beers in the world. They love their beers. They love them so much that they wanted to protect them from crazy experimentation, which was happening all over the world. So they came up with something called the Reinheitsgebot. You've probably heard of this. This is what it is. That's exactly what it is. It is saying that you can only make beer with these ingredients. You cannot add anything to the beer. It has to be water, barley, and hops. That is it. No adjuncts, no corn, no rice, nothing. We must protect German beer because when people drink a German beer, they need to know that this is what's in it. And it's today as well. They're so focused on it. Traditions. Now, I love this. I love the way we use glassware and traditions to serve beer in its proper way. This is a Stange, a crown, okay? And oh, look at all these little bitty glasses. They're so cute. They only hold 6 ounces. They're like this big. They're cylinder. They go up and down. And they're small for a reason, because the beer needs to be kept cold. And if you have a big glass, there's a good chance that that beer might get warm on you because you're not drinking it fast enough. So we're going to keep our glasses small and twee, okay? Nice cold, and you're just going to sip, sip, go to the next one, sip, sip, and then you don't even have to tell the waiter for another Stange. I've seen them, see the little, this here? I've seen them flip them around with glassware in them. It's incredible what they're able to do. So they bring you a new Stange, and they take the old ones away, and you get a new one. So that is Kolsch. It is from Cologne. The best beer pub crawl I've ever done was in Cologne. They've got 5 of them within a 10-minute walk. You just go to each Kolsch brewery and just sample, and you are a happy girl. Berliner Weisse. Color. Interesting, right? It's got raspberries infused in it. It's delicious. And look at that bowl. It's like a fish bowl, right? It's heavy. You actually have to have 2 hands on that thing. It's got a big, heavy stem on it, and you have to go glug, glug, glug. Don't make that noise, because then people will think, You're American. So yeah, but honestly, it's this big thing. And the reason why the bowl is so big is for what? So you can get a bigger space, just like wine glasses. Red wine glasses, bigger at the top. Whites, smaller. Reds, we want that aroma. We want the oxygen to hit it. We want it to aerate when we move it around. More, please. Okay? All right. Okay, Oktoberfest. It doesn't happen in October, it happens in September, as you know, because it's warmer in September. And Teresa and Ludwig said, oh, we want everybody to come to our wedding party. Please come in the 1800s. We want to throw a big party. And everybody came. And they all wanted beer. And so here we are 200 years later, still doing the same thing. 6 million liters of beer were drank last year. 5 million people went. So you do the math. I'm not kidding. I just looked this up last night. 98,000 steins were confiscated at the exits. They're called masses, M-A-S-S, Mass, which is a liter of beer. They're very heavy, and then you put beer in them, they get very heavy. And these ladies can carry like 7 in each hand, and then if you put another one on top, I mean, you get bonus points for that. But yeah, they're stout for a reason. It is very good beer. It is a Märzen. It is an Oktoberfest beer. There's only 2 breweries in the country that can actually call themselves Oktoberfest. One of them is Paul Lehner. The other one is? Anybody? Famous brew house in Munich. Hofbrauhaus. Very good. They're the only ones that can call themselves Oktoberfest beer. Everybody else has to call themselves Fest beer. Mwah. We don't know the difference, right? We'll just drink it. So Oktoberfest, they have these thousands of people in these tents, these long tables. You don't know about anybody sitting next to you. It doesn't matter because you're going to be friends with them anyways by the end of the night.
That's the way it is in English.
Yeah. The best beer ever, Weihenstephaner. You might have seen this. It is available. It is the oldest brewery in the world. 1040. 1040. It's crazy. Weihenstephaner. It's a Weiss beer. It's a wheat beer. It's not clear, but you'll love it. You have to love it, because if you didn't love it, it wouldn't be around for 1,000 years. Okay? You can get this at Total Wine. It comes in half liters because the Germans don't joke around. You're going to want another one anyways. They're just helping you out. Goffel Kolsch, one of my favorites. Okay, United States. Lagers, American Premium Lagers, pale straw color, brisk taste, amber lager, bready, a little malty, off foam, bitterness up front, clean finish, a cream ale. Rice and corn is used to make cream ale. Okay, that's why it's a lower cost beer. It's not made with wheat. IPAs, they can be East Coast, New England, hazy, juicy, which are less bitter, more citrusy. West Coast IPA means higher alcohol, a little piney. I like East Coast versus West Coast. Probably because I grew up on the East Coast. I'm kind of leaning towards that. Strong ale has to be 7% or higher. Dark ale is a porter, a stout, usually has a dry finish. Milk stout, oatmeal stout. Can you say barrel aged? They like to barrel age everything in the United States. We just put it in a barrel and see what happens. Most American styles are based on European styles, but we use American hop strains and hop grains because of where we are. All right. Okay, history. 1915, we had 1,300 breweries. 1920 to 1933, we had 0
Known brewers.
A lot of farmers made beer in their farmhouse with the chicken poop and all of that, remember? And it tasted good because that's all you had. 1970, we had 89 breweries. That's in the whole country. My gosh. Fort Collins has 89 breweries right now. 1978, President Carter, who we just lost, legalized home brewing. He says, it's fine. You can do it. Just do it, have fun. And look what happened. In 2022, we have a lot of breweries, 9,500. I think we're probably kissing 10 right now, 3 years later. I could not get an accurate number on this. Basically, beer has traveled here. We didn't have traditional ingredients in 1700s. We didn't have fields of wheat. We didn't have fields of corn. We didn't have hops. Settlers had to be creative. Our German ancestry had to be creative. Your Polish ancestry had to be creative. So what did they use? They used evergreen needles, pumpkins, any type of spice they could find. Sap was used. Just make me alcohol. They tried so hard. Today, we're using chilies. My last article I wrote for a beer magazine was on green chilies, using green chilies in beer. It's really something. So in the 1800s, German settlers brought their Bavarian lagers. They pushed away the ales. The immigrants started on the East Coast, moved all the way to the West Coast as they were doing. They're planting, they're farming, they're producing grains, they're growing barley, wheat, and now this is where we're at. Beer is the most loved alcoholic beverage in the United States. In 2023, 6 billion gallons of beer. Billion gallons of beer. Second to wine. Wine is only 931 million. I know, it's surprising. It is surprising, but we love our beer. Another great example of how beer travels. All right. Beer number 1. This is Budvar Brewery. It is in the Czech Republic. It was developed in 1895 in Bohemia, currently the Czech Republic. Guess what Budvar means in English? Budvar. Budweiser. Ah, wait a tick. Wait a minute. Beer number 2, Budweiser, Fort Collins, Colorado. Adolphus Busch, who was the founder of Anheuser-Busch, visited Bohemia in 1896. And he said, this is pretty fine beer. I think I'll take it. And he took it, and he took the name, and he took the process, and he started brewing his own beer in the United States, and he called it Budweiser. Okay, talk about beer being traveling, okay? So, Budvar is still in existence. My husband's family from generations used to make and grow the wheat that was used for Budvar beer. Budweiser is still in existence, of course. It is the #1 beer in the United States. So, Budvar has 650 employees. They've been in a dispute over name for probably 75 years. They decided that, okay, we'll just call it Czechvar. If anybody in the United States wants to import it, we'll call it Czechvar. Budweiser is called Bud in the EU. Complicated, right? Doesn't make any sense. So we have Budweiser, Budvar. This is the bottle. You can get it in the United States. Budweiser, Budweiser, United States. Guess which beer is better? This is made of wheat. This is made of corn. Yeah. Okay. Craft versus corporate. Craft breweries are small, independent, mom-and-pop shops that make beer because they love beer. It's expensive. It's a labor of love. They have to clean everything. They have to make sure it's to style. If they go to competitions, they have to make sure that they're doing the right things. It is a small business. Corporate is not. Corporate is huge. It's a conglomerate. Craft usually has bolder flavors, more alcohol. You're getting what you pay for. It might be a little more expensive. But basically, you have to produce 6 million barrels or less a year. That still seems a lot. Most craft brewers are only going to produce 60 barrels a year. Corporate, there are 4 companies in the world, that own 80% of the beer labels. You go into any beer store, liquor store, 80% of that beer is owned by 4 corporations. They're buying craft beers because they recognize how many people loved craft beer. So they're going to very successful craft breweries and saying, we'll pay you a stack of cash to come on board with us. Now, if you were a small business owner, what would you do? Some have said no. Some have said yes. Now, I'm not to judge. It's a business. They're selling a product. And so Fat Tire, is now a corporate beer. It was the #1 craft beer for a long time in Fort Collins, and now it is in North Carolina, and now it's owned by InBev. So craft versus corporate, if that's important to you, craft is always going to be a little more expensive because they have higher costs. Corporate is going to be owned by a large company. All right? Okay. How are we doing?
Great.
Good?
Fantastic.
InBev, Coors, Anheuser-Busch, and the other one's a British company. No, I'm sorry, it's a Japanese company. Yeah, Japanese company, yeah. Do you know the name? I can't think of the name. Yeah. Yes, Japanese company. So, yeah. Best U.S. iconic craft beers. Pliny the Elder is made in California. It is in the Russian River Valley, which is fabulous for wine. It is double the hops, so it is a double IPA. It is very hoppy. It is voted the best beer in the country. It's called Pliny the Elder. Can you buy it? No, you have to go there. You have to go there, and you can only buy 12 at a time. Else, you buy more, and then you sell it, and then make more money, and they don't like that. Sam Adams started this whole craft revolution in the United States. It's a German-style lager, very roasty, very nice. You've probably had one. But it's got a little caramel, a little toffee on, a little sweetness. It ends with a very nice crisp finish. It also started educating us on glassware. Kept the head. That's the first time we saw like a funky beer glass in the United States. Well, it's because it's there for a reason. It's keeping the head. It's maintaining that effervescence. It is the largest craft brewery in the United States. Pliny, Russian River Valley is probably the smallest. And they love their beer merch, Sam Adams. Hats, T-shirts, all kinds of stuff. It started kind of the beer merchandise revolution. Sierra Nevada Pale Ale. You can find this anywhere. You can find this in Walmart. It is fantastic. It is Cascade hops, very unique to the United States. Citrus, pine, balanced, bottle conditioned. Bottle conditioned means, let's just stick it in the bottle, cap it, and see what happens. It's conditioning itself inside the bottle. It's not being conditioned in a vat somewhere and then bottled. It's being bottle conditioned, which is a skill to do that correctly. It is fantastic. They have a wonderful, wonderful location outside of Asheville, North Carolina. I've been like 7 times. I love this place. What a beautiful location. Just a terrific, terrific wait staff. They know their beer. You can talk to them about anything. It is known for its bright green label. It is a craft brewery. Okay. All right. Oh, thank God. Are you ready? I'm ready. Is it noon? It's noon! Hey! Hey, you know, the funny thing is in Germany, as long as there's 2 numbers on the clock, you can drink. That means 10. That means 10. As long as it's a double-digit number, you can start drinking. My husband's retirement party in Germany started at 10 a.m. Hefeweizens. Yes, question?
I wanted to ask about how to pour different types of beer.
Yes. Yeah, you pour the same way, and we're going to start pouring for you right now. We're going to start with the first beer. Thank you. I'm going to help in a minute. when you pour a beer, it's slow, okay? You want to tilt the glass a little bit at an angle and pour it down the side, okay? You don't want to pour it right in the middle. You just want to pour it down the side because then you'll get the nice head on it. And you never do it fast, you do it slow. Okay. Here's your open beer. You're going to pour along the side slowly. Okay? So you can see the effervescence coming about? Okay. This does not, well, we'll talk about that in a minute. Okay. So I am in the process of experimenting with some new technology. So my slide for this is not coming up, and I apologize, but I happen to know a lot about this beer. So what I want you to do when we taste beer, it's very similar to tasting wine. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to sniff it because it was just opened, okay? And for beer, you got to sniff it pretty quickly after it's opened. So give it a good sniff. Now, how do you sniff beer? Well, Kristen, come on. You stick your nose in it, right? Well, there's a couple different ways. There's the drive-by sniff. It's actually called the drive-by sniff. Or you can lift the glass to your nose, bend your nose a wee bit, not a lot, because then you're going to get a snootful, and then we're going to know you're amateurs. Okay? Just a little bit, and take 2 quick sniffs. Oh. What do we get? Oh, very good. Very good. Some people just aren't good at this. Some people are exceptional at this, like my husband. I could have opened a beer 6 houses away, and he'd come running. He's so good at it. I'm so jealous, too. So, okay, we smell a little sweetness on it. A little, like what? A little fruit, okay. A little citrus, very good. Citrus. A little orange, maybe? I smell a little pineapple. Just a tiny bit. And I'm getting over a sinus infection, so tell me if I'm wrong. Okay, so we're sniffing it. Now we're going to look at it. Now, you don't have to hold it up. There's some white napkins in front of you. That's always very helpful when you're tasting anything. And that's why when you're ever entertaining people, please, I know you like your colors and your vibrance and your holiday stuff, use white. Use white tablecloths, use white napkins, use white dishes, because then it shows off the food and the drink much better. So you're going to hold it up to your napkin, and can you see? It's a little cold, so if you take it's somewhat clear, right? What color are we talking here? It's translucent, okay. It's gold. It's medium gold. Very nice. So why are we doing this? Oh, okay. The reason why we do this, the reason why we taste, and we're not judging, by the way, okay? When you're judging beer, that means this style, you're judging against all the textbook styles. All right, the easiest way I can describe it is, have you ever watched the Westminster Dog Show? And the beautiful dachshunds come out, all yapping around, really cute. There's the long-haireds, there's the short-haireds, there's the minis, there's the standard. Those dogs are not being judged amongst each other. They're being judged amongst the standard of what that dog should be looking like and their temperament. Okay? This is a blonde ale. If we were to judge, we would be judging this amongst the textbook standard of what a blonde ale should taste like. But since we don't know that, we're just tasting. We're just having a good time. We're not professional judges. We're just tasting. But the reason why we're even doing this much is so we can appreciate it. And if we're ever in the store and we're looking at it going, I think I've had that, and it tasted like this, and it smelled like this. We are training our brains to remember things that we like, or certain attributes of a beer that we like. So when we go to the store and make a selection, it's up here somewhere, okay? We're enjoying it on different levels. We're using all our sensory experiences. So this is a Kona Big Wave. Kona Big Wave. It's from Hawaii, okay? It is a blonde ale. It is not a lager, what you're used to drinking. It is an ale. We call it the gateway drug to get you to start drinking ales. Because you've had lagers and it probably tastes like a lager. You haven't tasted it yet, or have you? Please, let us sip it. Cheers, Prost. It's crisp, it's refreshing, it does have a little citrus on it, it's smooth. It tastes like an ale, but it's a lager. It's cold fermented. This is what we call drinkability. It's very drinkable. It's very non-pretentious. It's something nice to have in the house all the time. It probably goes with just about anything you're going to serve. You can drink it on its own. You can drink it with food. It's got good drinkability, okay? So these are the three steps we do when we're tasting. We're sniffing, we're looking, we're sipping. Now, I want you to take another sip, and I got to say this before I do it. I want you to hold it in your mouth for just a little bit before you swallow. There's some kind of party going on. Did you feel the carbonation? Yeah, it is awesome, isn't it? Now I want you to take another sip and I want you to swish it around. And I want you to get it underneath this part of your lip. Mm-hmm. Your cheeks. Wow, is that refreshing? It's like a palate cleanser almost. It's a dry hop finish, okay? Sucks a lot of the moisture out of your face. That's not the technical term. And don't tell my husband I said that. But no, it's a very nice beer. So is it surprising to you? Okay, yes?
So what grain would that be made out of?
I don't know. It's basically wheat.
Okay.
It'll be wheat, yeah. It's a very nice beer. It is low alcohol. I want to say 4.8% alcohol. It is carb is probably around 6 carbs, and the calories is about 128 on it. Okay, and this is because my slide's not here, but this costs about $1.29. You can get this at Walmart, which is where I got it from. I purposely bought all my beer from Walmart because you know where Walmart is. And you can buy it at Walmart. Yes? Oh, that's a really good question. Is there any advantage over a bottle versus a can? Yes. It's all in our head. Okay? So bottles look more, hey, standing at the beach with a bottle, bottles look more cool. Cans look kind of tacky. Swigging something from a can, especially ladies, Okay? Cans are better. Cans do not let the light in. My husband was so disappointed. He bought a really beautiful beer. Let me back up. I was in London 2 weeks ago, and I brought him 13 beers from the UK, and he was so excited. One he's never had before. He opens it up, pours it out, it's skunked, which means it was light struck because it was in a green bottle, but it was a dark beer. Should never been in a green bottle. But the bottle, if it's stored improperly in your garage, you never put beer in your garage, Floridians. It's just not going to make it, even for a millisecond. Okay, it's just way too hot, and you're going to have soup in that beer. So take that beer, put it in a cool place, or better yet, have it stored at the store and buy it when you need it. Okay, a lot of for some reason, a lot of Florida beer places don't refrigerate their beer. They really should be refrigerated because of the temperature changes down here. Air conditioning's on, it's off, it's on, it's off. Glass has light that comes through it, even if it's in your refrigerator. In and out, light struck, light struck, light struck. So the best bet is cans.
And the aluminum doesn't
It's recyclable.
No, I mean.
Oh, it's coated.
it
It's all coated
oh, it's
inside.
coated.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Saving beer, like, you have a little bit, and then you gotta do something, so you don't wanna throw it away, put it back in the refrigerator.
They have little cups. They have little cups. They're silicone little lids that go on top. You get them on Amazon, 6 for like $2.99. They're little. We use them for our waters at home. They go right on the cup or right on the top. And you can put it away. The carbonation will probably be a little flat after 2 or 3 hours. So I would, yeah. Yep. Okay.
As long as, if you open a beer,
Mm-hmm.
even though now they put dates on them, the
Yeah.
expiration dates, if it's past that, as long as it's still good.
It's not going to be, and that's a good question. If it's past the expiration date, is it going to be a bad beer? No, it's just not going to be at its optimum life. Okay, things have settled, the flavor might not be there, but some beers are meant for aging. The darker porters, the higher alcohol beers, you can definitely age, but if it has an expiration date, it doesn't matter, because if it hasn't been treated well, like this beer I brought home for my husband, it's not expired in July of this year. It should have plenty of time. It wasn't stored properly. Doesn't matter what the expiration date is, it's still bad. So yeah, store your beers properly, or better yet, just leave them at the store and buy them when you need them. Okay? Any other thoughts on this? Oh, everybody drank their beer. Yeah. Yeah. Before we go on, we've got a couple questions. The reason why you have crackers, okay? They're unsalted, they're horrible, I know. And they're a little stale, that's on purpose. We just opened them up today, but I had them opened up early because I want them to be stale. They should not taste great. They're just a palate cleanser. It's like a little sponge for your tongue. And ideally, what you do is you crack it in half, put it on your tongue, stick it up in the roof of your mouth, and don't chew it. If you chew it, then your teeth get filled with cracker. And that's hard to get out. Now, those of you who are doing right now, it's going to take about 5 minutes for that cracker to dissolve. So, just saying. But if you were in a professional occupation where you were doing this for a living, you would crack it, put it at the top of your roof of your mouth, and let it sit there, disintegrate, and then go on to the next beer. Okay, but this is just eat it normal. But it is supposed to be not fun. It's just a palate cleanser. You're cleaning your tongue for the next one. Okay? Okay, so let's talk a little bit about liking beer. So it's like ice cream. There's lots of different ice creams out there. Some of you like strawberry, some of you like chocolate, some of you like vanilla. But generally, most of us like ice cream. Okay? Beer is like that. You like beer. You like maybe different kinds of beer, IPA, an ale, a Belgian white, whatever. It's the opportunity to try things where you're not ordering a case of it, okay? And that's why you're here. You cannot say to me, this is a bad beer. It's not. You just don't like it. That's fine, okay? Like everything else, like books. It's a bad book. No, it's not. You just don't like it. It's perfectly well written, she says, who just wrote a book. Excuse me. I've actually gotten really good feedback. All right, let's taste this one. Blue Moon. Let's look at it. Oh, first of all, let's sniff it. Wow. What's going on there, huh? All kinds of stuff going on. So different from the last one. I smell orange, coriander, a little spicy, like almost not quite baking spices, but something like that. Definitely citrus. Yeah, what else? A little bread. A little bread in there. Okay. So let's look at it. Can you see through it? No. No. It is cloudy. It is unfiltered. There's good stuff in there. Okay, it has not been filtered, obviously. All right, let's give it a taste. Okay, it's medium body, it's medium on the tongue, it's not too light, it's not too heavy. When I say body, it's how it rests on your tongue, just like wine. Is it light? Is it heavy? It's about the medium. Okay. I also taste a little creaminess on it. Right at the end. Anybody get that? Little creamy? I definitely get some sweetness. Get a little malt. There's a lot going on with this one. It's a little more complicated, right? Is it refreshing? Yeah. Yeah, it's nice and cold. And thank you to our servers, by the way, I would never be able to do this, so thank you, servers. My goodness. Thank you. Who knew when you went to the library they'd serve you beer? They do it all. And you will notice that you are getting a brand new cup, right? And you know why. You don't want to confuse things, right? You don't want to confuse things. So this is how you should be tasting. So it is very unique. It's a gold color. There's definitely effervescence in it. You can see little bubbles happening. It's a little party going on. Okay, hold this one in your mouth for a while and see what happens. There's a lot of carbonation on that. Okay? Now that's because we just opened it. If we would have opened these and had them sit out for an hour, it'd be flat. Okay? It wouldn't taste as zesty. Okay? And that's the other thing about working with beer and wine. You have to come up with a really good vocabulary. You can't just say, oh, it tastes good. You know, it's zesty. There's something going on. There's something that's tangerine-y, orangey, something that's grabbing you. This is the #1 Belgian white in the country. It is made here in the United States. It used to be a craft. It used to be, I love this story. How many people are baseball fans? Okay? Denver Field, Denver Baseball Stadium is now called what? Oh. Guess who bought this beer company? Coors bought it. Because they went there and they said, damn, this is fine beer. We want this beer. We're going to buy this beer and we're going to make it ours. And so they did. They're now a member of Coors. But they did not change the recipe. Thank God. It is 5% alcohol. It's a little higher. It is 168 calories a can, a little more. 14 carbs. You know how I know that? Besides my slide? Look at it. There's a lot of yeast, a lot of stuff in there. It's very dense, it's very thick. There's more carbs, okay? It is $1.41 a bottle, and you can buy it anywhere, anywhere. People are serving it with an orange wedge on it. You can do that. I wouldn't do it. They suggest doing it. It's kind of silly. I wouldn't do it. The beer doesn't need fruit as a garnish on it. It should have it all going on inside the cup. But it's Florida. It is Florida. You guys do whatever you want. You're retired. So cheers to you. So anything else about this beer that we like, don't like? Have you ever had this beer before? Anybody? A couple people. Yeah, it's very, very well known. Yeah. This is a Belgian white. Remember we talked about Belgium? That's where this came from. You just drank a Belgian beer. Imported. Made in the United States. Yeah. Belgian beers are pricey. They're about $4 or $5 a bottle. Yeah. There'll probably be more once tariffs hit. That's something you have to be considered about. Yeah. Tariffs are really going to hit the beer and wine industry pretty hard. So, okay.
Is it kind of settling out?
Mm-hmm. The warmer it gets, the less effervescent and carbonated it is. Just like a soda. Leave a soda out or you leave a soda in the sun, it flattens out. So that's why it's really important to drink it if it's coming out of the fridge pretty quickly. How many people have never had a Guinness? Okay, almost half of you. What kind of pushes people away is the color. It's black. It's basically black beer. How can that possibly be good? Okay? It scares people because it's not in our head what a beer should look like. But if you go to Ireland, that beer you just drank, that would push them to the side. In Germany, they call it Spülmaschinenwasser, dishwasher water. What you just drank. Spülmaschinenwasser is dishwasher water. It's the stuff that comes out of the dishwasher after you're done cleaning it. That is not beer, according to the Germans. The darker the beer, the better, because the darker the malts, the darker the roast, the more flavor, the more intensity, the more just all kinds of things going on. It's not just to wet your whistle or quench your thirst. It is an enjoyable experience because it's like a meal. There are so many things happening with this beer. You have to sit and experience it. You're not just going to pound it down on the beach. Okay? It is quite the beer. It is considered an Irish stout. It is, I'm going to show you something very interesting. Let me do that. It's pretty cool. So we talked about cask ales, remember? Oh, thank you, dear. How the cask ales, thank you. Remember, they had to be pumped up from the basement so they can get some oxygen in them, so they can get a little carbonation, a little party going on. Now, I want you to try and hear this. This is very special. Did you hear that?
There you go.
There's something in here.
Beer.
Yes. That is still the head.
Wow.
Okay, now my lovely assistants can't show you this, but this is still the head. It is still the head. Now, you see it's darkening here? That is the beer. It's still the head. Okay? It's still mostly head. It's a chocolate head, a white head, off-white. It's so pretty to look at. There's the beer. Now it's starting to move up. Now, there's something special in this can. It's called a widget. It's a plastic little thing, it looks like a button, that's filled with nitrogen. When I opened that can, you heard it. Yes. And it went, pow. It pumped up. Now, see the head? It's gone. Just a little tiny white head here. But now you can see what happened. It pumped up and amplified that beer because people wanted to have that experience of being in Ireland and going to a cask ale and having it drawn and having that big fat head. You couldn't do that at home. So if we make it in cans, we're going to make sure you have that same experience. And that's what they did. There is a nitrogen oxide cartridge in each of these cans that make that sound and pump that gas into the beer.
So does that make it more expensive?
Yes. Don't shake your beer. No, don't shake your beer. Don't shake your beer. No. So you can hear it all the way over here. You hear it? Yeah. It's loud.
If you do shake it, what happens?
It explodes all over the place. Just like a can of soda. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so that is a Guinness. All right.
Is that the type of glass?
Yes, that is a Guinness glass. It's actually copyrighted. Yeah, you should never put, and here's the thing. If you have a Guinness glass at home, don't put anything in it but Guinness, please. It is bespoke. It is a very important, don't put anything in a Guinness glass unless it's Guinness. At the holiday time, they have some really nice gift sets at your local liquor stores. They'll have like a Guinness, a big Guinness, like a liter Guinness with 2 matching glasses. Oh my God, get that. It is so worth it. Talk about a gift for somebody. It's such a lovely gift because you're actually giving them the glass in which to serve the right beer in. And if you see those gift sets in the stores, they've already done the work for you. The glass that they're giving you is the bespoke glass for that particular beer. If you're going to get a Chimay set, sometimes there'll be the Belgian Trappist Chimays. There'll be like a can of Chimay and then the 2 bowl glasses for Belgian beers. Those are the glasses that are supposed to be used. Keep them. Buy those. Build up your inventory of glassware.
What's
about beer tasting, if you're going to have a little party, you're going to bring people over, always start from the lightest beer to the darkest beer. Your palate needs to develop itself over time. If you start with this, oh, honey, that light beer is going to taste like Spülmaschinenwasser because you just killed it, okay? So start with the light goldens first. It's really about color. Start with the colors, move your way down just like wines. Whenever you go to a craft brewery and you ask for a taster tray, they'll give you little 4-ounce pours. You're having probably 4-ounce pours today. You will have probably drank 9 to 12 ounces of beer today. Doesn't seem like it, okay, but we're stretching it out. So those of you who need lunch afterwards, go get some lunch, okay? So you would start with the light. They would serve you the light first all the way down to the dark because that's how your palate experiences flavor. All right, Guinness Irish Stout. Everybody good? Give it a smell. Coffee. A little chocolate. Little chocolate. A little, you smell bitter? Okay. It smells rich, right? Okay, now what do? We look at it. Can you see through it? No. Oh, good. I didn't pay too much then, huh? You cannot see through this. This is a dark black beer with amber highlights. I don't even see the amber, to be honest with you. It might be the lighting in here, but sometimes it does have a little amber highlight to it. Again, Guinness is supposed to be drank in the pub. We can't all go to pubs in Ireland, so that's why they've canned it and put the nitrous, the widget inside the can to simulate it coming from a cask. And now let's taste it. Different. Why is this different? Oh, I heard it here. What did you say? It's not quite as carbonated. It's got some body. It's got body. The carbonation, without the carbonation, it just kind of lays flat on the tongue. It is supposed to be that way. That's cask ale. It has very low carbonation. Very flat, but a lot of flavor going on. If you let it rest, not around your mouth, because there's no carbonation, let it rest on your tongue. I heard aftertaste. That's correct. There's a long finish to it, just like in wine. That means there's a lot of flavor, and it just keeps, I can still feel it now. It just keeps going, especially around the edges of your tongue. Here, there's a little bit of a bitterness. That's where your tongue tastes bitter, okay? Try it again. Slight bitterness, but smooth, a lot of flavor, very different. It is an ale. It is a cask ale with a nitrin boost. Okay, let's talk about some statistics here. It is, you ready? How much alcohol do you think's in this baby? 4% alcohol. Yes! It is very low alcohol. It is the lowest alcohol beer we have drank today. It's tasting even better now. How many calories do you think this dark, chocolatey, stouty beer has? 200? Okay. Because it has lower alcohol, it has lower calories. This is 125 calories in a can. It is the lowest calories that we've had in a beer today. And that's hard to wrap your head around, especially when you can't see through it. You think, oh, it must be chock full of calories. It's not. It's about the flavor that's been produced. Carbs, 9.4. It's very low carb. This is Guinness, by far, the healthiest beer you can drink. The healthiest beer you can drink. If you're going to drink a beer, drink a Guinness. Light beer. There is light versions of every beer. What they do is they take away some of the alcohol, which means they take away some of the flavor, they take away some of the ingredients. It's a lighter style of that. But, I mean, why would you, okay, here's my thing. I had an argument with my husband about this last night. Why would I drink a light Guinness? It's only 10 calories difference, or 20. It doesn't make it, like, that's a lifesaver. I mean, that's popping a gumdrop. I mean, that's nothing. So if I'm going to drink beer, I want the full experience of the beer the way it was intended to be. And that's just me. I'm kind of a purist in that way, okay? I want to drink a Guinness the way it was supposed to be made, full of flavor, full of malts, full of the requisite hops. I want to see it the way it should be seen. I want the flavor to hit all areas of my tongue. I don't care about 20 calories, obviously. I don't care about 20 extra calories because it's not worth it to me, okay? So that's my opinion on light beer. It's up to you. If you want to drink 6 beers, I would make them light beers. If you want to drink 2 beers, I would make them full flavor, full up, the way they're supposed to be made, okay? So the difference really isn't that extreme. All right, so all of these beers, like I said, are available at Walmart, this included. This is $1.47 a can. Yes, $1.47 a can. They come in 15-ounce cans, so they're quite big, which means they're $1.84 for this size. Okay. Now, on that note, unfortunately, Guinness is no longer a craft brewery. When a craft gets popular, companies buy them. They get purchased, and their portfolio of beer increases because, is that a good or a bad thing? I don't know. You can buy Guinness now everywhere. You can buy Guinness in Japan. You can buy Guinness in China. You can buy Guinness in India. So because of the reach that a corporation has, they're able to distribute bigger than Guinness could. So is it a bad thing, good thing? I don't know. There's really no answer to that. Okay? So that is our Irish Stout.